am not qualified to handle this real life drama, but maybe some of you are because these are your stories. The first story wants to be left anonymous. We respect it. Am I the a-hole for not telling my BFF that I'd slept with her husband? And please don't judge me just yet. Bestie, you're scaring me a little bit. What do you mean?
What do you mean?
Though it's not as horrible as it sounds, I still can't say that I'm proud of this at all. I'd intended to take this one to the grave, but I figured this is a safe place to confess. Well, then I should probably shut my mouth. I, 40s female, met my BFF, Renee, which is an alias name, freshman year of college when we were 17 years old. We have been the best of friends since the day we met in 1995. She is my ride or die, and I am hers. We met through our boyfriends, freshman boys at our college. They lived next door to each other in their dorm and were super close, so we all hung out together and we double dated often. While I later married my boyfriend at the time, we had broken up our sophomore year, as did my BFF and her boyfriend. I took it hard as he was my first, and a few months after the breakup, I was SA'd by a frat guy classmate at our school. It was a rough year for me, and I began drinking heavily at the time, trying to numb the pain. That breaks my heart. Regardless of anything else in the story, my heart hurts for you that you had to go through that. The next semester, a mutual classmate that I had a crush on, JT, gave me a ride to Atlanta, Georgia, as we both had family there that we were wanting to visit. We had been close friends since freshman year, and I thought maybe he was crushing on me too, but I wasn't sure. We had off-campus activities unrelated to school that we did together. He let me drive his car, and we hung out alone, often in my dorm room or his. It felt pretty flirty, but we never expressed anything to one another. On the road trip to Georgia, which was 4+ hours, he brought his friend Sean, who was also one of our classmates, since he didn't have anything to do that weekend. This just happened to be during Freaknik weekend, which was not planned. If you don't know anything about Freaknik, I'll just say it was pure debauchery. I don't know anything about Freaknik. I went to university, and while there were parties there, I don't remember anything called Freaknik unless I just wasn't cool enough to be invited. I had never seen anything like it. The streets were overcrowded and you literally couldn't get anywhere. Oh, they have a lot of those street block parties at colleges in London, Ontario. I'm from Windsor, Ontario. We didn't have any of that. After getting stuck in it for over an hour, we ended up just pulling over at a random cheap motel to stay at until we could get through the city. We just hung out watching TV and drinking, myself and JT on one bed and Sean on the other. JT had his arm around me while we watched movies, and he ended up kissing me. I was shocked, but had been hoping for such a moment with him. Worst timing possible though. As we were alone, we didn't want to stop kissing, but I was shy about kissing him in front of Sean at first. Well, that would be a little weird. Talk about being a third wheel. With nowhere else private to go, we slipped into the restroom where Sean couldn't see. Oh my God, you're writing a diary entry. And we made out hot and heavy. We ended up giggity gooing there. Are you trying to say in there? And although sort of gross location-wise, honestly, it was kind of hot. As it was completely unexpected, but also it had been months of low-key flirting with each other, resisting urges to kiss, and etc. But also wanting something more to happen, so it was pretty intense and passionate. I was embarrassed to return to the room to face Sean, so JT went back to the room first. I returned a few minutes later, trying to play it cool like nothing happened, but of course he knew. Yeah. I'm pretty sure he heard. We played cards, drank a little more, and well, I really have no excuse for what I allowed to happen that night, and I can't even tell you how we got there. I'd always been the good girl, the rule follower, and Miss Christian values, but I wasn't myself after the SA. I wanted full autonomy over my body and what I chose to do with it. I was a virgin until my first boyfriend in college, and then that happened. I had chosen not to give myself to anybody but my first, and then someone took something from me. So I guess I felt like I wanted to do/not do whatever I felt like doing with my body. So I chose at that moment to have an experience I may never have again with someone I felt safe with, and perhaps a less close friend who I also felt safe with. Are you trying to say what I think you're trying to say happened? Were there 3 people invited to the party, if you know what I mean. Sean was more physically attractive than JT, but still not my type. I'm a sucker for a nerd, but Sean was a cool guy type. I knew him to be a good guy, so we also had a little fun together that night. All parties consented and precautions were taken so that things were safe. Yes, we were drinking, but I was sober enough to make a choice and I did not feel pressured. It was a fun, hot moment, but nothing to write home about where Sean was concerned. We stayed friends and nothing like that ever happened again between us, though JT and I continued our flirty little thrice alone. Fast forward to our senior year. I got a call to come to the lobby of my dorm because I had a visitor. It's Sean, and he is distraught. Though we all knew each other, he'd often had a one-on-one convo with Renee before. Apparently, they had just spoken at length for the first time, and he was telling me that he is so smitten with her and wants to ask her out, but he knows if she knew that we had hooked up, she would never give him the chance. I had never told anyone, including my BFF, what happened that night. He asks if she knows, I tell him she doesn't, and he begs me not to say anything. He just wants a shot at getting to know her, but I wasn't sure what to do. You know, I was wondering how this tied into your best friend. I told him I had to think about it because if they got together and stayed together, that would mean me lying by omission to her potentially forever. There would be no going back if she ever found out and I didn't tell her. It could ruin our friendship and I couldn't risk that. Not telling her also meant I had to trust that he wouldn't at some point in the future tell her in anger during a heated argument or tell her just to hurt her if they ever broke up. And I wasn't sure if I could trust that. He looked defeated but said okay and left. That night when she got back to our dorm, she was glowing and going on and on about Sean and how they had so much in common and she had butterflies. The girl never gets butterflies. And she was so excited about him. I felt like I was choosing between two lesser evils. I knew what he said was true. If she knew we'd hooked up, she would have never even give him a chance or an honest shot. And from what I could see, she was equally as smitten with him as he was with her. It was one time and it meant absolutely nothing to either of us, so the next day I agreed, telling him that he'd better treat her with respect and treat her heart with care. He promised to be good to her and make a pact that neither of us would ever say anything and that we would never speak about it again and that we would just forget it ever happened. Renee and Sean began dating seriously from there and they were so sweet to see, walking around campus, blushing at each other and holding hands. He was completely in love and so was she. They married after college, married for 25 years now and have 3 sons together. I later married my first year boyfriend and my bestie and I were pregnant at the same time with our first sons. Though we don't live in the same state, we've remained close and now our firstborn sons are in their 20s, which feels crazy to say. I feel like I made the best choice a 20-year-old could make with her BFF's best interest at heart by not saying anything. Although I don't think of this situation often, sometimes when I do, I feel guilty for keeping a secret this big from her. It's a double-edged sword though, but at the same time, I'm glad I didn't because they have this beautiful family now and I still have my best friend. I would love to know what other ladies would have done in my shoes. Would you have told your BFF or would you have kept quiet? And do you think I'm the a-hole? Oh, that is so tricky because I get the point of view of not telling, but at the same time, if I was about to start dating someone new and that person had hooked up with my best friend, I would want to know, bestie, please tell me. Please tell me. I would want to know. Oh, that's tricky. Oh, and I feel like it'd be better to just rip the band-aid off then and say, oh my God, like that happened, didn't mean anything, just so you know, but like if it came out 30 years down the line or 50, it'd be like, it's way worse then. You know what I mean? Ooh. I think you would only be the a-hole if you actually slept with your best friend's husband. This person was not your best friend's husband at the time, so I don't think you did anything wrong there, obviously. I think it's just a matter of different people would have different opinion on this. Would you tell? Or do you think you shouldn't tell? But I don't think you're an a-hole because you had, I don't know what I think. You didn't sleep with your best friend's husband in that way, but then you slept with someone who became your best. Wow. I'm gonna leave it up to you guys. I need your opinions on this in the comments. All right, the next story also wants to be anonymous. Hey everyone, I'm B from Canada. Hey. Are you getting rocked by the snow right now? Because we are over here in Toronto. My life looks peaceful now. I am married to Elias. We have 2 amazing kids and we are safe. But it took a long road to get here. I met my ex. I will call him Matt. Oh, interesting choice of name. Matt is in the other room. When I was young, he moved into my life quickly. At first, it felt exciting, like I was finally seen. Before I really processed it, he was living with me and my younger brother. In the beginning, I supported us entirely. I was working full-time and covering every bill. Over time, he repeatedly ran up my credit card debt in my name and got angry when I did not pay it down fast enough. I helped his friends and family, even helping some of them get jobs at my workplace. Eventually, it felt like I was maintaining his life while mine faded into the background. There was financial abuse and emotional manipulation. Eventually, it escalated into a serious betrayal involving my mother. That deserves its own space, and I can share it another time if people want to hear it. But that made it very clear that I needed to leave. What finally pushed me to end things was not anger. It was numb. I looked at my life and realized I did not see myself in it anymore. With help from my brother and some close friends, I ended the relationship and I went full no contact. That began 2 years of rebuilding. Therapy, basic routines, working on my health, slowly rediscovering what I wanted without someone else's voice over mine. Eventually, I felt steady again. Life slowly moved forward. I stayed in no contact with him. If I crossed paths with his family, I was polite and distant, nothing more. At the time, an old high school friend moved back to town to care for his parents. We connected slowly, no pressure, no intensity. A year later, we started dating. A year after that, we got engaged. 6 months later, we were married. His name is Elias, and he has never made me feel small. When I became pregnant with our first child, it showed early because I was extremely sick. People at work noticed right away, including my ex's mother, Tori, who still worked at the same place. Ugh, imagine working with your ex's mom. Well, it depends on the relationship you have, right? She told my ex, and without my knowledge, he started claiming the baby was his. I did not know anything about this until HR called me in for a meeting. I went in assuming it was about work, but when I called, Tori was already seated, facing the door, quietly dabbing her eyes with a tissue, like she was preparing to be distressed before I even arrived. HR looked uncomfortable immediately. She spoke softly and said it was painful to see me carry her grandchild and not be allowed to be involved. She mentioned stress leave, then hinted that she and her son might pursue access depending on how I handle things. That was the first moment I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because it was unbelievable to hear. The room went silent, then I became very calm. I told them I was married, that I had not seen or spoken to her son in years, and that this was harassment. HR did not argue, they just stayed quiet. I walked out of that office and called Elias right away. That was the moment we contacted a lawyer. That is so bizarre. Not long after that, my ex started coming to my workplace shouting accusations. Security intervened with video footage that we obtained for a protective order. Soon after, he got a job at the bank I used and he legally accessed my account to get my address. Items started appearing at our door addressed, quote, to his baby. The bank discovered the breach, reported it, and he was charged. He received probation, had to pay restitution, and the protective order was extended. Our daughter was born healthy. To close everything legally, we went through a paternity test. It confirmed, with no question, that Elias was the father. Things finally went quiet for a while. When our daughter was about 8 months old, I became pregnant again. Our kids are 18 months apart. When Tori heard, she tried to restart the same claims. All right, so clearly, like mother, like son over here, we got 2 cuckoo bonkers in the family. Saying that the paternity test must have been manipulated. We focused on our family, but things eventually escalated again. Some days do not give warnings before they change. One afternoon, when I was 7 months pregnant with our second child, I was out shopping with our daughter. It was a completely ordinary day until a car suddenly pulled in. What's about to happen? I'm scared. Until a car suddenly pulled onto the sidewalk and blocked us from moving forward. Inside were Tori and Seb, my ex's lifelong best friend. Seb never threatened me directly, but he was often nearby when things escalated. Tori got out of the car and began shouting that I should get in and to go see my ex willingly. She said that I had kidnapped her grandchild. Within seconds, there were 3 adults around me and I was 7 months pregnant, gripping my daughter's stroller while they were insisting she was not mine. I was not calm. I was terrified, trying to protect my child while 3 adults were closing in. I wanted to press charges on all of them. That is when someone stepped in who I will always be grateful for. A crossing guard nearby saw the whole situation. She reacted immediately, called the police, and came to stand beside me. Yes! I love when strangers intervene when someone needs help or they're in danger. She did not panic. She simply positioned herself next to us and stayed there until officers arrived. She protected us with her presence alone. She was the MVP that day, my angel in disguise. When the police arrived, I provided identification and I proved that my daughter was mine. Tori and Seb were arrested and eventually charged with attempted kidnapping and harassment. They received probation. That was our confirmation. We could not stay in that city. We moved quietly. My workplace helped with the transfer. Elias adjusted his work and we just started fresh somewhere safer. Since then, we have been safe. Our children are healthy and happy, and our life now feels like something we built intentionally, not something we survived. That story could quite literally be on Netflix. And I apologize for that because no one should have to go through that. That's Crazy Ex on a whole other level. And the fact that mom also was convinced, like, oh, that's my grandbaby. No, terrifying. So glad you're okay, and your kids. Before we get to our next story, you know the drill. Hydration Station still exists in 2026, okay? Cheers. Hope you're having a good day. Hi friends, so I've seen a lot of comments about the full-length stories that I did for the advent calendar and how much everyone loved them. Just so you know, I did do those before, I just didn't do them every single day. But since we love them so much, I'm going to continue doing them. It might not be every day, but I also love the full-length stories as well. So they're going to continue on this channel as a regular thing because I enjoy those ones the most also. So just so you know, I can't answer you all, but they will be staying on this channel. The next story is also anonymous. My husband is out until 4 a.m. twice a week while I spend my free time taking care of our 2 children, one of whom has special needs. He absolutely rejects and acts insulted when I suggest most logical humans would assume that he has or is cheating, especially since, I can't say that word, but sex work isn't illegal where he spends these late nights out. We have known each other since I was 13 years old, on and off in high school, then fast forward over 20 years. We have 2 children and are possibly happily married. I am now 35 and he is 37. Our son is 8 and our daughter, who is on the spectrum, is 3. He spends a lot of time traveling for work and I think he's either hiding an addiction or he has been stepping out on our marriage. For 2 years after my daughter was born, the budget was tight, but we made it work for me to drop to part-time hours. I'm a nurse at a hospital, so flexibility in that way is one of the few job perks that I have. A year ago, I decided I was ready to start building my career again, and I went back to full time. Obviously, this meant that we had more money coming in, but about 6 months in, I found out my husband had skipped paying the mortgage on our home long enough that they even started foreclosure. We pulled together money and asked my parents for help to save the house. He said he was just mismanaging things, and I decided, stupidly, to let that be. You said stupidly, I didn't. Just for the viewers, I did not add that in. Because I work full time and I have 2 kids to care for while he travels every other month, paying the bills is one of the only things he can do to help out around the house year round. But it happened again. This time we fixed it without help, but I started paying more attention. While he is in Europe every other month, most weekend nights, he is out at the bars until 4 a.m. Also, he is spending money at grocery stores, which is weird. He shouldn't spend that much on groceries when living in a hotel. Am I crazy to think he is at least drinking excessively, but probably patronizing the massage parlors, or maybe has a whole other girlfriend over there? I mean, I don't think you're crazy to think that, but I think we need to find an answer to all of those. I think something's up. I mean, to be mismanaging bills to a point of foreclosure on a house and having that happen often and staying out till, yeah, I would probably suspect things too. I think you know best in your own marriage, but we need to get to the bottom of this, girlfriend. Yeah, I don't think you can live like that for the rest of your life, always wondering such big things and something going on. Something going on. And I don't think it's good. Next story was submitted by Angie. Am I the a-hole? I know I'm petty, but I've always wondered if I was justified. This may be a little long. My ex-husband, I will call him Ray, dated a girl I will call Betty, on and off through high school and just after. Him and I dated briefly when I was 14. I don't think you can necessarily call it dating. At 16, then he took me to my junior prom and we dated when he and Betty were broken up. Between ages 17 to 19, we hooked up when neither of us were seeing other people. We started really dating when I was 19 and I got pregnant. His family never liked me. They said that since I didn't talk much, I was stuck up and thought I was better than them, when in reality, I was just shy around people I didn't know. However, his family really loved Betty. It has been 26 years and Ray's mother still has a picture of Ray and Betty on her wall around pictures of our kids. She never put up the family pictures with me in it. That's crazy. About a week before I gave birth was Ray's birthday. Betty sent him a birthday card telling him that she knows that their time apart is only temporary and that she knows they will be back together and some other stupid stuff. They tried to tell Ray our son was not his. So we got a DNA test. Our son was his. I later found out that when I absolutely didn't have a choice but to let his mom watch our son if I had to work or go to school, she would call Betty to come over so Betty could hold my son. I did see red when I found that out. I was about to say, I'm gone. I'm seeing red at that point. Betty would go see other family members. She would park down the street from our house and watch, assuming she was watching me to leave our house. She would call or text Ray, and Ray didn't ever stand up for me, ew, and wouldn't just cut her off or tell his family to stop. That is part of what led me to leave after 14 years. Before that, I tried to stick it out for our boys, and I did not want to give Betty or his family the satisfaction. Here is where I may be the a-hole, but definitely petty. When our oldest son was 2, a Christmas card arrived in the mail addressed to Ray and our son only. Of course, Ray didn't ever not see a problem with or the disrespect in it. If she had sent it to Ray only, fine, but she included our son on it. We had just taken family photos. I took one of the family photos and I wrote on the back, "Don't you wish this was you?" and mailed it to Betty inside a Christmas card. Of course, she threw a fit and called Ray's mom about it. Ray confronted me and told him that one of my friends probably sent it because Betty was disrespectful. It was glaringly obvious that I had sent it, but none of them were very smart. So, was I the a-hole or was this justified? I will accept my judgment, Joss. If you see this, I look forward to watching you every day. Oh, okay, well now I'm just gonna cry. Every day I have 2 incurable... Oh, stop. You're trying to get me. You're trying to get me here. I have 2 incurable cancers and a couple other illnesses due to the placement of one of the cancers. When I'm having particularly bad days due to my illnesses, side effects of medication, or just wondering how I am going to pay my bills, afford medication, or food for the month, I can always count on your videos to let me escape my reality for, I'm gonna cry for real, for a little while. Plus, I love knowing I'm not the only sassy and petty person. Well, I'm genuinely so touched by that. That is like, makes me so sad that you're going through all that, but so happy that I can somehow, like, it's bizarre that I am somehow an escape in your day, and it makes me really emotional. in my heart. I'm trying not to cry because I have to continue filming after this, but thank you so much. That was so beautiful. Before that, taking that out, I just want you to know I don't think you were the a-hole for that. I think that was some innocent pettiness in there. Like, what does she expect though? I feel like I probably would have done worse. So it makes you feel any better. You're better than I. Let me know your thoughts on these stories, you guys. And if you want to submit a story, make sure you submit through the form. Although I have a lot of catching up to do because the form was open for 2 months and now we're going through to catch up on all the stories. So if the form's closed, it will be open again. I just want to get to as many stories as I can. Okay? Stay classy out there. Stay sassy. I'll see you tomorrow.